Prompt Engineering Mastery. Hello! You've already learned basic prompting skills. It is time to check how well you've mastered it. Get ready to flex your prompt engineering muscles. You've mastered several key skills, including context setting, task framing, output formatting, prompt refinement, and example integration. In this session, you'll practice these skills through exercises. Let's go. Excellent work. You've set a clear context and framed the task perfectly. Now let's move on to output formatting. Which of the following prompts best demonstrates effective output formatting? Create a table comparing solar and wind power, include columns for average cost. Tell me about renewable energy like the solar, wind, and hydroelectric power. List some renewable energy sources like the hydroelectric power. What are the pros and cons of renewable energy? Write a detailed product review for a new smartphone you recently purchased. Include your overall impression, key features you liked or disliked, and how it compares to previous models you've used. For example, you might say, "This smartphone has an excellent battery life and a stunning display, but the camera could be better." Please extend your review to cover additional aspects such as customer service, value for money, and durability without changing the original content. Provide 3 different reviews of the same product, each with a unique perspective and structure. Write a general product review without specifying the product type or details, focusing on the overall experience and factors to consider. Well done. Now let's move to refining a prompt. Sometimes the AI's response may need further refinement to meet your expectations. You've asked the AI to explain the basics of blockchain technology, but the response was too technical for your target audience of small business owners. Which of the following refined prompts is most likely to yield an appropriate response? Explain blockchain technology to small business owners who have limited technical knowledge. Describe blockchain technology and its potential relevance to businesses in a way that highlights its key advantages. Simplify your previous explanation of blockchain, breaking it down into more accessible language. What is blockchain and why should businesses care about it? Congratulations, Prompt Engineering Master. You've successfully completed a comprehensive practice session. Your responses demonstrate a solid grasp of context setting, task framing, output formatting, example usage, and prompt refinement. You have now mastered the basic skills, and in the next lessons, you will learn more complicated techniques. Happy prompting! Hi again. In this lesson, we'll explore 3 powerful techniques to make your task frames more effective when working with Claude. Metacognitive prompting. The first technique is metacognitive prompting. This involves asking Claude to explain its thought process as it works through the task. Let's try creating one. Great work! In this exercise, your prompt consisted of 2 parts. The first was your actual prompt. The second sentence, however, is an example of metacognitive prompting. Using metacognitive prompting with Claude has a couple of key benefits. It makes Claude's reasoning process more transparent to users. It helps identify potential errors in Claude's analysis. Hence, metacognitive prompting allows you to better understand and evaluate Claude's reasoning. However, there is also a potential limitation of using metacognitive prompting in every prompt. What do you think it is? It may lead to overly detailed responses that are harder to follow. It guarantees that Claude will always provide a better response. It prevents Claude from providing any concise answers. It forces Claude to explain irrelevant details. Now that we've learned how to make Claude's thought process clearer, let's move on to ensuring the response is fair and balanced. This brings us to bias checking. Bias checking. Bias checking is the second technique we'll cover. By explicitly asking Claude to check for biases in its response, you can ensure more balanced outputs. This step is critical when discussing topics that could have multiple perspectives or underlying assumptions. Great job. By adding this bias check instruction, you're encouraging Claude to critically examine its own response and provide a more balanced view. To see how we can effectively incorporate bias checking into our prompts, try to solve the next quiz. When discussing politically sensitive topics, when analyzing complex social issues with multiple perspectives, when creating balanced content for diverse audiences, when working with technical or scientific information. Now that you know how to ensure fairness in responses, let's take it a step further. Sometimes, Claude may not be equally confident about all parts of its answer. That's where calibrated uncertainty comes in. Calibrated uncertainty. The third technique involves asking Claude to indicate its level of confidence in each part of its response. This gives you a clearer picture of how reliable each section is, helping you weigh the information appropriately. Why is it useful to ask Claude to express confidence levels when making predictions? It helps you understand how reliable each part of the answer is. It forces Claude to stick to only high-certainty predictions. It prevents Claude from making bold claims. It ensures Claude doesn't make any predictions that it isn't sure about. Excellent work. Now that you've learned all three techniques, metacognitive prompting, bias checking, and calibrated uncertainty, it's time to combine them. Let's practice putting them all together in a single task. What could happen if Claude provides high confidence in a biased response that lacks metacognitive reflection? You might trust an inaccurate or unbalanced response. Claude will avoid biases, making the response more accurate. The response will be concise but less useful. The bias will be obvious, and you can easily adjust. Congratulations, you've mastered metacognitive prompting, bias checking, and calibrated uncertainty framing. In our next lesson, we'll take things further by exploring advanced techniques in role and context setting. Keep practicing these techniques to get the most out of your interactions with Claude. Shaping Claude's perspective. Today we'll explore how to create rich, nuanced roles and context to guide Claude's responses more effectively. By framing roles and contexts in detail, you can ensure Claude provides insightful and tailored responses. Specific role. The specific role is the identity Claude takes on while responding. By assigning Claude a defined role, such as a climate scientist or bioethicist, you provide a focused perspective from which it approaches the task. A clear role ensures that Claude's responses align with the specialized knowledge or viewpoint required for the scenario. Now that we've set Claude's role, let's explore how defining the level of expertise enhances this even further. Defining the level of expertise. The level of expertise determines how knowledgeable Claude is within the role. A novice might provide a basic overview, while an expert with years of experience could dive deep into technical or advanced topics. Great! Specifying the level of expertise makes Claude's responses more aligned with the depth of analysis required. Let's refine further. Adding relevant background. The relevant background provides Claude with additional information or experience related to the role. This background can include specific fields of expertise, past experiences, or key projects. By including relevant background, you help Claude draw on more specialized knowledge. Excellent. Now you know how providing Claude with a relevant background gives it a richer understanding of the context it's operating in. Next, let's examine how the current situation or challenge adds focus to Claude's task. Current situation or challenge. The current situation or challenge defines the task at hand. Whether it's solving a problem, analyzing a situation, or proposing a solution, the challenge should be clearly stated so Claude knows the specific goal of its response. Now let's focus on key stakeholders, which help clarify who will be impacted by the task. Identifying key stakeholders. Key stakeholders are the individuals or groups affected by Claude's response. By identifying stakeholders, you ensure that Claude takes their perspectives, concerns, and needs into account while formulating its response. Finally, let's explore constraints or considerations that help Claude balance trade-offs and challenges. Defining constraints or considerations. Constraints or considerations are factors that may limit or shape Claude's response. This could include ethical concerns, time limitations, or specific conditions that Claude needs to navigate while addressing the task. Great! Now let's test how well you can apply these concepts by reviewing a scenario. Which of the following prompts provides the most effective role and context setting for Claude? You are a climate scientist with 20 years of experience, specializing in atmospheric physics. You've been asked to give a presentation to a group of policymakers with varied levels of scientific understanding. Explain the mechanisms of climate change and their potential impacts over the next 50 years. You are a scientist. Explain climate change. Pretend you're a famous person and talk about the weather. You're an expert. What's happening with the climate? Congratulations, you've mastered the art of advanced role and context setting for Claude. This skill will allow you to elicit more nuanced and targeted responses in your interactions. In our next lessons, we'll explore domain-specific prompting techniques. Get ready to dive into specialized knowledge territories. Harnessing specialized knowledge. Today, we're diving into domain-specific prompting. In this lesson, you'll learn how to create prompts that use specialized knowledge and terms to get expert-level responses from Claude. By mastering this skill, you'll be able to guide Claude to give accurate and relevant answers in all kinds of fields. Specialized vocabulary. The first key element of domain-specific prompting is specialized vocabulary. In any field, experts use unique terms to describe concepts or processes. By including these terms in your prompt, Claude can deliver a more specific and accurate response. For example, in the context of energy-efficient building design, the strategy refers to a technique or a process for improving energy use, while the efficiency metric, energy use intensity, EUI, measures the building's energy performance. Great. By using specialized terms like thermal envelope optimization, an energy-saving strategy, and energy use intensity, a measure of energy performance, you help Claude focus on specific aspects of energy efficiency in buildings. The second key element is technical concepts. These are ideas or principles unique to a field. For example, in architecture, energy efficiency can involve concepts such as smart building technologies or passive solar design. Again, here's a hint for you to master the prompt. Energy strategy refers to the specific design or approach used to save energy. Alternative strategies are other methods for achieving the same goal. Excellent. You've successfully integrated technical concepts like passive solar design and smart building technologies to guide Claude toward a deeper analysis of energy-saving strategies. Methodologies. Next is methodologies. The specific approaches or techniques used to solve problems in a particular field. For instance, in energy-efficient architecture, methodologies like life cycle analysis can be used to assess the long-term performance of a building's design. Great! By specifying a methodology like life cycle analysis, you guide Claude in using a structured approach to assess the energy efficiency of different strategies. Highlighting recent developments. In fast-changing fields like architecture or technology, it's important to include recent developments in your prompts. By referencing new technologies or discoveries, you ensure that Claude's response is based on the latest advancements in the field. For instance, smart building sensors is also a recent development. Congratulations! These energy-specific terms and concepts most likely were completely new to you, but you've mastered domain-specific prompting and helped Claude to produce expert-level responses. In our next lesson, we'll explore how to manage multiple tasks and create multi-step prompts for complex projects. Keep practicing your domain-specific prompting to get the most precise and accurate results from Claude.